Kazekura departure. Keifuu Flight 85 with you at 50 climbing 1000. Keifuu 85, roger. Radar contact 25 miles outside of... Well, anyways, this is episode 34 of If I Had Wings, and after all the efforts of Kotori, Aoi, Ageha, and Amane fixing up the glider, it is ready for flight. And despite all the setbacks, like Tatsuya Sensei with the Robotics Club and the competition and Amane's spear flights, they're able to finally get this airplane airborne. So we have pilots, Amane and Aoi, and Kotori is just running the winch machine that's going to catapult this glider into the air, and Ageha's kind of like the ground support. So let's see how this flight goes, and it is quite bumpy as you can see from the image, but hopefully the flight evens out and it becomes a smooth journey into the skies. So even I was quite impressed by the way this glider is flying. So let's see. So my whole body was shaking from the G-force, and it felt like the floating sensation was equal to the feeling of being pulled by the winch. Okay, well, for now. Well, we know that eventually the winch is going to be disconnected. I look down through the canopy. However, at this angle, the main wings block my field of vision, and I can hardly see the ground at all. So basically, the angle of attack is really high right now, but I'm pretty sure once they level out, I can see the ground. So how high are we now? Being sure of the situation sowed the seeds of fear in my mind. Okay, so mine is going to drop the winch rope. So the feeling of being pulled suddenly disappears and the aircraft floated gently like it has been set free. And that's because it had been released from the winch. There you go. So we're flying now. From that moment, the glider was no longer borrowing power from something else. It was flying all by itself. I'm pretty sure Aoi and definitely Kotori and Ageha are proud of the work that they've put into this glider, especially the wings. Well, I've never experienced this before, but this strange feeling of floating. The sound of the wind is extremely loud. Well, that's true. Okay, so make sure the tow rope is disconnected and they didn't drag any part of it with them. So I, sitting in the back seat, turn around to see the tow rope that had been safely released. And we can see that they're pretty high up in the sky now. I wonder what's the altitude right now. So the rope with a small parachute attached falls slowly to the ground. Okay, so release confirmed. Okay, so looks like all good to go. So at least one of the obstacles cleared. So basically the takeoff went smoothly. The glider was able to fly into the sky without any problems. And now from the ground, it looks like Kotori is all excited. It's like, yay, he's flying! So how does Ageha feel? Oh, so Ageha's running over to Kotori. Yeah, I can see it. It's exciting. There you go. It's like all the hard work that we put into making these wings, they work. Oh, don't forget that winch rope. You don't want it to fall in the wrong place or get tangled up in, I'll say, a tree or whatever. And okay, so Kotori is kind of jealous, like, well, I want to fly it too, but I'm very sure that eventually she'll get her turn to fly this machine, or to ride this glider. There you go. Wow, we really are flying. This is awesome. And Amane is still kind of afraid. And, well, you don't have to look down. Just please keep looking straight ahead. Okay. So check the ground in place of Amane. And now you can see the little city, or actually, basically the city scaled down from above. So we're about 300 meters above the ground. So I'm guessing that's about 1,000 feet. Okay. So, okay, Ageha's going to get the tow rope. The tow rope, in other words, the rope coming out from the winch, was attached to the bottom of the aircraft by a hook. And the hook can be detached at any time from the cockpit, and this is usually done just before the glider reaches the point above the winch. And even if there is a problem with the controls for detaching it, once the glider goes past the point being directly above the winch, and it's being pulled from behind, and it automatically releases. Okay, so there is a fail-safe mechanism in the case that the release doesn't work correctly. And once it's released, a small parachute opens and it falls slowly back to the ground. And if it's not detached, it can cause a terrible accident, so you must check to see if it has been released. Well, I'm sure at that point what happens is that the rope might snap, and well, actually first the winch will pull the aircraft from flying any further, and that's going to put stress in all sorts of unnecessary areas. And in the best circumstance, the tow rope snaps, but I'm sure in worse conditions it might start to damage the body of the glider. As I sat in the back seat, I enjoyed the view from 300 meters above ground. Oh, so we're overlooking the city. I can see the roof of the Flying Fish Manor, which is quite close to the runway. I can also see Ageha's house, and it looked tiny. Well, I'm pretty sure this is the experience that you get as soon as you take off from the runway, even in a passenger flight. It obviously gets smaller, and then eventually the clouds cover over, and once the jet is at 30,000 feet in the air, you pretty much can't see anything except large fields. Oh, okay. So looks like you can see the Keifuu Academy from here. And Yeah, you can see that the field, it looks quite small. It's surrounded by all these different buildings.
あんまり飛んでると言わないでくれないか。意識してしまうじゃないか。
But for Amane, she's still afraid of the height. Oh, I'm sorry. I hold my tongue and enjoy my first flight. When I saw that the glider flying from below, it looked like it was really carefree as it flew, but well, once you actually ride it, it really does feel carefree after all. However, hearing the rushing sound of the wind and the feeling that the wind resistance goes right into my body are things that you don't get from the simulator. So the feeling, the experience, all that vibrations from the wind resistance. However, these things are the forces that keep the glider, which has no thrust in the air. I'm sure if it has engines, it will be exciting as well, because you can hear the loud engine noises all over the aircraft and the vibrations and the rumbling. And if you kind of look out the window, you can hear all the thrust that's coming out from the engines. So even when the aircraft moves down slowly, it doesn't feel like it's falling as it flies leisurely through the wind.
翼はすごいな。
But at least someone's like, well, at least you did agree on the wings. So, well, what's that?
安定感が抜群にいい。本当に私が作ったものとはまるで違う。
So now that the wings are much stronger than they are, they're able to resist the wind gusts better than before, and it translates to, I would say, like better stability. Well, it is all thanks to those girls.
ああ、降りたらいっぱいハグしよう。旋回する。
Okay, so turn. She said as she tilts the yoke to the right. And the aircraft leans to the right all of a sudden, as expected. Whoa, so what happened? Hopefully nothing wrong happened. So Amane returns the yoke to the original position and corrects the aircraft which had banked too far, but then... So what happened now? She moves it too much and it then banks to the left. Hey Amane, what are you doing? So looking from below, it looks like Akira and Kotori can sense that there's something wrong about the glider. Or maybe just testing. But then again, I'm sure like the controls are being too abrupt.
なんかヤバげだね。もしもし、あまねちゃん?
So Amane, do you read me?
もしもし、あまねちゃん?
So what's her reply? We received a transmission from Kotori.
フラフラしてるけど、大丈夫?
So I see that the glider's shaking. Are you okay?
大丈夫じゃないかも。
Maybe not. Well, they should start landing ASAP then. Alright, just calm down. So, since a few moments earlier, Amane, who had tried to level the aircraft, leaned too far and then back again over and over. Well, if it is too sensitive, then maybe she should be a little bit more gentle on the controls rather than being too abrupt. So, Okay, Ayokun, take over. Okay, Amane, I'll take over. So Amane let go of the controls. And in her place, I take controls from the back of, or like the back seat. So double-seater gliders have completely the same controls in both the front and back seats. And just like that, or like just like what I did in the simulation, I tried turning it using the yoke to control the ailerons and the elevator, as well as the pedals to control the rudder. I tilt the yoke to the right and the aircraft banks. Well, you really only need to move the yoke back to the middle after banking, but in this case it needs to be moved a little in the opposite direction. So basically fight the opposing currents. Okay, so this is counter steering. There you go. Okay, I get it. So the reaction of the aileron is too sensitive, but it's okay, it won't be a problem. When I say that the reaction of the ailerons is too sensitive, I mean that if I just move the yoke a little bit, the ailerons will move much more than usual, which causes the aircraft to lean too far. So they're misaligned. So if Amane, who's really clumsy, were to use the controls like this, it could be a bit dangerous. So it looks like they found a problem, and this problem you can't really test when you're on ground. But well, what happens if there's no lake? Well, I'm pretty sure at this point they should start considering landing the glider. Oh, and it looks like Aoi is able to compensate for the really sensitive controls. Ooh, phew. Okay, it seems like we're level again. Yeah, so something like that, it's no problem. So it's a little hard to maneuver, but it should be fine once I get used to it. Okay, so I'll pilot this for a while. Okay, so for now, I'll just fly once around the runway. If I slowly turn the aircraft and make it turn around above Kotori and Agahara. And from above, I can see both of them waving. And I wonder if Anchan's watching us too. Or maybe he's watching from inside a building, and that's hard to tell. And I can't just make out the roof of Anchan's factory from here. Or maybe it's too far for him to see. Whatever. Well, I turn a little more, and now we're above the lake. Okay? So shall we go to the other side of the lake then? What do you say? I wonder if Amane is trying to find a way to end this flight sooner than later. Well, if we can't ride the vertical drafts, we can't raise the altitude. And even though we call it flying, actually the glider is continually falling slowly. So if there are no vertical drafts, we'll have to land at some point. Okay. Well, maybe these wings will generate enough lift to stay in the sky longer, and that'll be enough for us to go across the lake. Okay, roger that. If it looks bad, we'll turn around and just come back.
どこ行くんだろう。風車の丘に向かうみたい。
Okay, so on the other side of the lake is Windmill Hill.
届くかな。
And well, that's a little bit far from where we are. Will they have enough lift to circle around there and come back?
そう。
I don't know. So the glider proceeded to fly across the lake. The altitude was gradually dropping, but we were alright for time being.
ケーキは私が見ているから。
Okay, so mine's like the co-pilot. It's like, oh, well, I'll watch the instruments. I'll warn you if we're dangerously low. Thank you. So I learned how to read the instrument with the simulator, but I'm still not used to it. We just flew straight forward, and after a short time, the other side of the lake came into view. And there we saw the gentle slopes of the hill and the windmills lined up on top. So this is Windmill Hill. Okay, so today the wind is quite weak, so they weren't really turning that much.
なんだろう、あれ。
Oh, so it looks like someone else noticed. And I think we might know who this person is.
どこ？ほら、あそこあそこ、こっち来るよ。飛行機かな。
So if you remember, one of these girls was at the supermarket buying expensive meat for some stew, and I always criticize her like, hey, don't you think that's kind of a waste? You're buying nice expensive meat for something that doesn't really require expensive meat. And then when he found someone else that looks like the first girl, that girl kind of got upset. It's like, hey, why are you barging in our family affairs? Like, are you trying to stalk me or something? And now it looks like for some reason they noticed the glider.
あ、本当だ。姉さんって昔から目がいいわよね。しかし、やけに低いところを飛んでるのね。速度も出ていないようだし。
But it's not that impressive. It's flying low and slow. But I'm sure they could tell that, or I wonder if they know that it's a glider and not a powered jet. So from over there, we saw you flying for the first time, Amane.
あの時か。
So this was back in episode 1, where Kotori was just going to Windmill Hill in her wheelchair by herself, and when I was helping Kotori fix the wheelchair, they saw the glider, and that got Kotori interested. That was the day I came back to this town, the day it all began. And that time Kotori was waving her hand at the glider. Did you see her? I'm sure back then Amane didn't recognize Kotori.
それどころじゃなかった。
And she was probably busy trying to get this glider on the ground. And we can tell that she's afraid of looking down, so I'm sure she didn't see Aoi and Kotori.
あの日は気流がいい具合に荒れていて、生きた心地がしなかった。
There you go. Well, I wasn't comfortable with it. Oh. So while we were speaking, we had crossed the lake and we're now above the windmills. And just like Amane did it on that day, we slowly turned above the hill. And then we saw the glider.
ああ、それどころじゃなかった。
And just like Amane did it on that day, we slowly turned above the hill. And just like Amane did it on that day, we slowly turned above the hill. and it felt really strange to look down at the giant windmills from above.
ゆっくり回ってる。変な飛行機だね。あれはグライダーじゃないかしら。
So it looks like Girl B can sense that it's a glider. That's why it's flying slow and low.
グライダー？
What's a glider?
ええ、多分だけど。グライダー。すごくゆっくり飛ぶんだね。気持ちが良さそう。
But then again, slow and low has its advantage.
エンジンを積めばもっと早く飛べるのに。どうしてそうしないのかしら。
Well,
葵くん、だいぶ高度が下がってきているぞ。
uh-oh. Oh, Roger. Okay, so let's head back. I hope they have enough altitude to head back across the lake and land safely. Because doing a water ditch, I'm not sure if the aircraft will survive. Well, we can't stay here for long. We need to go back across the lake while we still have enough altitude. As we turn back towards the direction of the other side of the lake, I can see people on top of the hill. And there are two of them. They must be girls. They seem like they were looking up at us. So they like gliders? The same as Kotori? While making that up in my head, I leave Windmill Hill behind me.
行っちゃったね。ふわふわしてて、なんだか頼りなかったわね。
Well, it's just floating, unreliable.
うん。でも、飛んでるって感じがした。あ、戻ってきたよ。
Okay, so I wonder if Agika and Kotori were worried about them for the entire time they were over at Windmill Hill.
だいぶ低くなってるわね。
But did you sense that, whoa, it's really, really low?
着陸するみたい。
Okay, so landing.
もしもし、葵、聞こえる？
I hear you loud and clear. Now, commencing landing. So get the runway ready.
了解。着陸するって。
But when they say land, well then, I'll return the controls to you. Okay, so have Amane do the landing.
了解。
So non-nervously, Amane grips the yoke. So it is said that landing is the most common time for glider accidents to occur. Well, it's like, well, we have to land right. We can't... Well, basically, our rate of descent should be low enough not to cause any impact to the body of the glider. And make sure it's level enough so that the wings don't strike the runway. And because it's going from flying to being in contact with the ground, one mistake can mean it's very easy to suffer some kind of physical damage. Well, in a sense, what pilots say when they land is that they're basically driving the aircraft onto the runway, rather than just having it plop onto the runway. So the landing is difficult, and when you push the yoke forward to lower the altitude, the speed can increase. That's true. However, if you're traveling too fast, there will be a large impact when landing, and you want to be able to stop after landing, so it's possible to go past the end of the runway and collide with something. And that's why you need to lower the altitude while keeping the speed as low as possible. So basically, descend slowly, gradually descend. So for that reason, the main wings of the gliders are equipped with several types of lift reducing apparatus. Like what? So by reducing lift, the altitude can be reduced without increasing speed. Even though the glider is quite simply built, there are several different devices equipped for takeoff and landing. Okay, so here they come. Okay, touchdown. And it was hard enough for Aoi to feel the impact. And Amane as well. So Amane, in a way that could almost be described as a rough landing, set us down on the ground in a way that felt like we were falling. And the glider, returning to Earth, ran along for a few meters before the wheel brakes stopped it. And as we opened the canopy, Agaha thrusts her face inside. Oh, so we made it. Taking off the seatbelt, I climbed out of the narrow cockpit. So Amane, are you okay? So how about you? I'm okay. So Amane slowly takes off her seatbelt. I get out first, and then help Amane get out. Well, it's been a while, well about 10 minutes, but I strangely missed being able to put my feet on the ground. So how was it? Kotori, arriving a little later than Agaha, rushes ahead and starts firing questions at us. So I was like, well, how was the flight? Was it exciting? How was the ride? Bumpy? And more importantly, how were our wings? Well, how should I put that question? Or how should I answer it? Okay, so it was awesome, says Aoi. I totally felt it. Like, I felt totally incredible. No other impressions come to mind. So how long were we flying for? That's a pretty good flight. So you went to Windmill Hill? Yeah, just for a little while. I got a pretty good look at it. So I'm sure Kotori is excited. Like, well, next time I want to fly on it, and I want to fly over Windmill Hill. So Agaha passes some mineral water to Amane, help her refresh and recover. So the cockpit that was continually being hit with direct sunshine was unbearably hot inside. Okay. Okay, so how were the wings? Okay, so yes, so we did a good job. But I did see it wobble. So the ailerons. So any other problems? Let's see. So while Kotori and I were overwhelmed with excitement, beside us, Agaha and Amane were talking about it in a very matter of fact manner. Well, I'll have to fly a few more times to see what else is wrong, but
じゃあすぐエルロンの調整だけしちゃいましょう。
Okay, so let's fix the ailerons first then. Ageha enthusiastically goes over to get the tools.
何してるの？みんな手伝ってよ。今日中に飛べるだけ飛ぶんだから。
Well, let's see. The test had only just started. It's like, well, we have to try it again, make all these adjustments, and keep doing it until it flies the way that we want it to. And then we did a few more tests. And the main objective for today was to test the main wings that had just been completed and check the repair instruments. So basically check all the things that were fixed and repaired since Amane flew the glider in the beginning of the visual novel. And also to give me actual flight training. And thanks to the work I've put into the simulator, I was able to control it from the very beginning. I only realized that from flying this real thing, but the simulator that Amane had made gives me a pretty realistic feeling of flying. I have to say, that's what I expect of her. And after adjusting the ailerons, I practiced takeoffs and landings, and was able to use the basic maneuvers. So as I come back from the 5th flight, Ageha comes over to us. So what's going on now? I groan as I open the canopy. So I think he's getting tired from all these flights. And it's hot inside. Okay, water. It looks like if you want to fly in this season, water is indispensable. Yeah, well, my body's used to being in the cockpit now. Okay. Well, the biggest problem with Amane is her fear, and that's really hard to correct. And if Amane wants to fly better, she has to try to overcome her fear, because it causes her to be, I would say, like I'm not sure what word I could use. Like it just causes her to be unnatural and like all abrupt at the controls. Amane speaks in a way that is hard to interpret, whether she is pleased or if she's sulking. It would appear that she still has a complex about her clumsiness. There you go. Well, I'm feeling quite worn out. I'm going to take a little break. So getting back on the ground, my legs are a little unsteady. So I think it's probably like his legs feel that they've had their blood vessels cut off or something like that. You know that feeling. Rather than actually being tired, being in the air for so long has messed up my sense of balance. Okay. Okay, so lunch. So we continue with that line of conversation. Then Kotori says, well, so what's wrong? I want to ride it. Amane looked at me. No, I can't let her ride it with me. You're the one with the license, Amane. Oh, okay. It's like, well, only Amane can fly passengers because she has a license. Compared to Aoi. But still, it's technically not legal for Aoi to fly solo or with passengers. Well, that might be true for just normal flying, but there's no guarantee that there won't be any problems. So if something happens, I won't be able to deal with it. So I'm pretty sure they don't want the aviation authorities to go after them for having unlicensed flyers, because it can mean really big fines, and they may be able to take the glider away and ground it.
あまねちゃん、操縦してよ。あんた正気？
But it's like, well, Amane, even though she has a license, she can't fly it correctly or stable. And if she flies Kotori, who knows what might happen next. Akiha responds instinctively, and Amane seems a little hurt. However, when I was sitting in the back seat watching Amane at the controls, I certainly did feel quite nervous.
いいの。命をかけるだけの価値はあると思うから。
Well, I'll do it anyways because I want to experience this flight.
私たちで作った翼だもんね。
Well, I guess. So Kotori swallows as she nods.
あ、わかった。じゃあ、ランチの前にもう一度だけ飛ぼうか。
So fly one more time.
やったー!
Okay, so this time Kotori will be the other pilot, or more like a passenger. In her wheelchair, Kotori throws her arms into the air.
じゃあ、私がウィンチ操作します。葵、小鳥を後ろに乗せるから手伝って。
Okay, so let's put Kotori in the back seat. Sure. So Akiha and I pick up Kotori and put her in the back seat.
お尻大丈夫？緩くない？
So seatbelt okay? Seat adjusted okay?
ちょうどいい感じ。
Check, check, check. And for Amane, so what's up?
葵くんが助けてくれないと思うと不安で。
Well, if I'm going to fly by myself, it's going to be quite uncomfortable. I don't have a support.
ああ、気持ちはわかりますけど、後ろの人がもっと不安になるんで。
Well, I think that's gonna put more stress on Amane.
平気よ。
But for Kotori's sake, it's okay. I'll do anything to go into the sky. And while we continue the preparations, Akiha waits over by the winch. So the launch preparations are complete. I give Akiha the signal and to commence the launch.
ワクワク、ワクワク。ワクワク、ワクワク。ワクワク。あれ？
Uh-oh. So what happened? The winch is not moving at all. Uh-oh. So I wonder why it suddenly just quit working. So what's the problem? Akiha is waving in the direction. In the next moment... Oh no! So the winch is catching fire. So black smoke was coming from the winch.
なんか煙出てる？あ、本当だ。
Well, I'll be back, just in case. So please release the tow rope for now.
了解。
To check that Amane had released the tow rope, and then run over to the winch. Okay, so what's up?
なんか壊れちゃったみたい。
I think what happened was that the motor overheated from all the use that they were using to get the glider up in the air and to do all those test flights. And given that it's an old motor, well, it's an old motor and I don't know if it got proper lubrication or to actually clean the motor or did any kind of maintenance on it to make sure it can still run smoothly. So looking at the black smoke rising up like a signal beacon, Aya called out, completely at a loss as to what to do next.
ダメだ。壊れてる。
So pretty sad, and Kotori just lost her chance to fly. So Amane sounded like she was in a complete despair, and she looked at the inside of the winch, which was covered in oil. So yeah, poor lubrication, and there's probably a leak somewhere, and maybe the bearings are damaged. Kotori, who really wanted to fly, was downhearted. It looked like one of the parts in the dilapidated old machine had broken and we could no longer use it.
発行前でよかったわ。離陸途中で故障してたら大事故になってたかも。
That's true. Amane nods as if to say, you're right. So, can this be fixed? I'm pretty sure at this point it's better to replace the whole winch machine.
自力では難しいだろうな。業者に修理を依頼しないと。
And I wonder if the case or like the frames are damaged. But if it's just the motor and some of the other parts, maybe there is a way to bring this machine back to life without spending too much money on it.
結構時間かかるんじゃないですか？1日や2日じゃ無理だろうな。
So for a start, even getting someone to come and get such a bulky machine will be a tough job in itself. Well, to tell the truth, I'm more worried about the cost than the time it'll take. Well, I think that is a problem. I wonder how much it's going to cost. And hopefully, the cost to fix the machine is less than the cost to replace it.
ってことは、今日のテストはここまでだ。
So I guess we'll have to end the testing here today. And poor Kotori, she does not get to fly today. So sitting in the wheelchair, Kotori goes white with shock. Okay, so they're gonna have Tatsuya help them fix the machine. Was an old model, and there was rattling with some other parts. They said that repairs will take at least a week. Well, at least he's able to repair it rather than replacing it. Well, we're so busy until yesterday, and now suddenly we have nothing to do. And so where are they? Okay, so they're back in the garage. Completely devastated. It's not like there's nothing at all for us to do. Before I forget the feeling of actually flying, I go back to the simulator, and as always, Amane goes back to looking at the drawing board. So I wonder what else Amane thinks can be improved on. Because they already have a fine model, a working model, and for some reason she's still at the drawing board. Kotori opened a book that she borrowed from the library and started to check something.
ただいま。アイス買ってきたよ。
And it looks like Ageha brought some ice cream. Ageha, who had lost our game of rock, paper, scissors, had come back from buying ice cream. So she gives out the ice cream to everyone.
小鳥、何読んでんの？
So we're reading.
ちょっとね、モーニンググローリーのことを調べてるの。
Oh, okay. Morning Glory.
私らの最終目標って空飛ぶことじゃないもん。
So the ultimate goal is to be able to fly up to this morning glory clouds. So at some point, the test flight had become our objective, but that really was just a milestone. It's like, well, first of all, get the airplane to fly. Second, make sure it flies correctly. 3, just have an experience or feel of what it's like to fly in the air. And obviously the ultimate goal is to fly through the morning glory clouds. To go above the clouds was our true objective. We also need to do that this summer. So I wonder when will be the next morning glory, because I don't think that happens often. And so after she had finished giving out the ice creams and dug into her own and then slumped down in the chair.
本当なら今頃テスト三昧だったのにな。
Well, there's nothing we can do about it right now. We can't fly without the winch. I feel that the simulator isn't really enough. So now that I has experienced the real thing, the simulator kind of feels boring in comparison. So why don't you go do homework or something while you have the chance?
もう終わったよ。
I'm already done with it. Wow, that was quick. Well, maybe Ioi needs to do his homework and not spend too much time on the simulator. Well, like when did she have enough spare time to do that?
うちらさ、夏らしいことなんもやってないよね。
Well, it has been quite boring, so I have been doing that and now I'm done.
夏祭りもいつの間にか終わっちゃったし。
So that's because we had been in the garage the whole time. If I had to say, the only kind of summer activity we did was eating that watermelon.
なんか夏っぽいことしたーい。ねえ、どっか泳ぎに行こうよ。
It's like, well, I want to do some more activities in the summer. So where should we go? Well, everyone is going to be at the pool and the beach, so they'll be all jam-packed.
学校のプールは水泳部が絶賛練習中だったしな。
Well, it's in use. She must have seen that on the way back from the store and felt that she wanted to do it too.
そうだ、あるじゃん、泳げるところ。
Oh, there's a place that we can go. So you mean that place? And as soon as she said something, I knew what she meant.
行こう、泳ぎに。
Let's go then. So standing there quickly, she turns around and looks at Amane and Kotori. So I wonder what this place is going to be. And unfortunately, I have to end the episode here. It's getting quite long. So anyways, it was quite exciting to see all those animations of the glider flying through the clouds and through the sky. And unfortunately, the winch breaks down before Kotori gets her chance to fly. But then again, the winch is quite old, and they were really pushing it when they were using it heavily, and I'm sure the winch was left dormant for some time, so it makes sense that the components couldn't handle the stress and broke down. But then again, it was no big loss that Kotori didn't get a chance to fly. It was just test flights, and I'm sure there are more test flights down the road, and maybe Kotori can get a chance to fly on those. And the ultimate goal, which is to see the morning glory clouds. So in the next episode, I wonder what place is this? The place that Aga mentioned for them to go swimming without being with the crowds. But then again, they have plenty of time to wait while the winch is being fixed. So with that in mind, I'll see you in the next episode.